So, you love Halo Combat Evolved. That first Halo had a mystery, a mystique, a feeling that no other entry in the series has ever quite recaptured. Maybe it's the blocky yet undeniably charming graphics, pixelated perfection that triggers a deep primal nostalgia in early 2000s kids like myself. Or maybe it's the simplicity of its gameplay and movement, so buttery smooth and timeless that it holds up nearly a quarter of a century later. It's been that long. Fuck. And if you're anything like me, you've played the ever-loving shit out of it. At this point, I could probably play every mission blindfolded, on Legendary, one-handed. What's my other hand doing? I ain't telling ya.
Yeah, boy.
So what's a lonely, bored Spartan to do? Well, we can thank the profits for the community, because Halo Studios sure as hell aren't. I could make a joke about the dig site team and Forges single-handedly keeping Halo on life support and not getting paid for their efforts, but that fruit's hanging so low I'd have to cave dive for it. Halo CE has more mods than JD Vance has memes of his face, and today I'm jumping into some of my absolute favorites. Mods that put a fresh spin on the campaign, or even create entirely new missions using CE's engine. And the best part? You can download them right now for free from the Steam Workshop. Sorry, console players, you might want to sit this one out. Though, just between you and me, alright, before the Microsoft execs try and drag me out of my room, okay? I will continue my campaign against them. Hashtag bring Halo mods to Xbox, right? I will die on this hill! Hello there guys, gals, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lepaladen, and it's about time I shone a light on the amazing modded content that the Halo community is making. I've previously covered the dig site team's work on Crash Site, but today I wanted to look at the array of other mods that either put an interesting twist on CE's campaign or use it to build something exciting and new. Starting with something a little more familiar to everyone, Rebalanced mods have a reputation in the Halo modding scene. It seems like every man, his dog, and his nan, the dog's nan obviously, have taken a crack at rebalancing or overhauling the Halo games, each with wildly different ideas of what balance actually means. And because Halo Combat Evolved is so old that its possessions are being sold off by younger relatives to cover the cost of its luxury retirement home, it's probably been tinkered with more than any other game in the series. Some mods like SPV3 throw in everything but the kitchen sink, though I'm pretty sure it might be a melee weapon in that game. The result? A mod that's impressive, sure, but loses some of that simplicity of vanilla CE. Then, on the other end of the spectrum, you've got mods like Ruby's Rebalanced, which takes the base game and elevates it, like a glimpse into an alternate timeline where Bungie had more time, fewer hardware limitations, and a clear-cut plan for the entire Halo trilogy from the beginning. From subtle tweaks like added visual recoil that makes firing weapons feel weightier and more satisfying, to fully revamped level sections packed with fresh enemy encounters, Ruby's Rebalanced isn't just another balance mod. This feels like a definitive edition of Combat Evolved. Some mods wear their jank like a badge of honor, barely held together with 5-gum duct tape and dreams, but Ruby's Rebalanced is polished. In fact, if you handed it to someone who had never played Halo before, they'd probably assume this was just how the game is supposed to be. It doesn't feel like a mod, except for some interesting Easter eggs. It feels like the real deal. Sometimes it's as simple as updating the plasma rifle's sound to better match its Halo 2 and onwards counterparts, or finally giving us the weapons and vehicles we always wanted to use in the original game, but couldn't. Other times, it's bigger, bolder changes, like overhauling the Flood to better match how they're depicted in other games and the expanded lore, complete with a sneaky Gravemind voice cameo or two. And honestly, I find myself loading this up more than vanilla CE these days. Yeah, I know. It smooths Combat Evolved into a better fit with its sequels, and makes the back half of the game way more enjoyable. CE's biggest shortcoming, in my opinion, is hiking through places you've already been, but Ruby throws some curveballs. Maybe you step through a teleporter on 2 betrayals and suddenly, back at Halo's control room, holding off waves of Flood with some ODST survivors until a Pelican swoops in to evac them. Or maybe you're heading to grab some weapons before blowing up the Pillar of Autumn's fusion reactors, only to get jumped by active camo Flood you did not expect. Next thing you know, you're limping out of the armory with fresh skid marks in your Mark V diaper. Ruby of Blue has put in the work, and even the most nitpicky Combat Evolved purists will find something to love here. Not every mod needs to reinvent the wheel, and Canyon proves it, sticking mostly to Combat Evolved's default weapon sandbox with a couple of new additions that frustratingly you can't always use. First time my balls are getting blue from a gravity hammer instead of crushed. It's classic CE exploration, winding through Forerunner structures both above ground and below, discovering the usual green teleporters from multiplayer, only to find them blocked by Covenant devices. Judging by the way these things are hooked up, they're likely siphoning energy from the teleporters for their own use, because if there's one thing the Covenant love, it's fucking around with stuff they don't understand and eventually finding out. But the big hook here is the brutes. Canyon drops everyone's favourite roid-raging chimps into Combat Evolved's campaign, and weirdly enough, they fit right in. They've been given a proper CE-style graphical downgrade so they don't stick out like a sore thumb among the rest of the game's low-poly enemies. Their voice lines are reversed, just like the Elites, to maintain that original CE vibe, where the Covenant was shrouded in an additional layer of mystery and secrecy. And they come packing some heavy firepower, wielding custom weapons like the Brute Shot, Gravity Hammer, and Plasma Turret, but I regret to inform you that these weapons have the shelf life of milk. It's a bit of a cock tease, but it does keep things feeling authentic to the original game's sandbox. And it's not just the brutes shaking things up. Jackal snipers make an appearance because clearly Halo CE needed more enemies capable of making me crash the fuck out and remember Halo 2 on Legendary. Drones also show up, and there's something deeply satisfying about swatting these little shits out of the sky with the Magnum. Even ODSTs get a moment in the spotlight, which is always a welcome addition. While Canyon doesn't have any cutscenes and it wraps up pretty abruptly, you hop in a Banshee, the screen flashes white, and that's it, it genuinely feels like it could have slotted into the first half of Combat Evolved as an introduction to the brutes. There are no recycled layouts from the campaign or multiplayer from what I could tell. Everything looks like it's brand new, which helps it feel like a proper Lost level. With a quick spit polish and a bit of dialogue to tie it all together, this could easily pass as a legitimate Halo CE mission. And as one of the first custom campaign levels to be made for MCC CE on PC, too many bloody acronyms, this is a must play. I went into beta with friends with pretty low expectations. I figured it'd just be Combat Evolved, but with more Marines soaking up plasma for me, and while yeah, that's technically true, this mod goes much deeper than that. There are plenty of mods that crank the chaos factor up to 11, but good luck Cairo, this mod's creator, manages to walk a fine line between all-out mayhem and actual balance. Cairo has taken Halo CE's already excellent environmental storytelling and made it different, and in some ways improved it. Marines aren't just standing around waiting for the Covenant to shoot them, they're actively setting up bases of operations, repairing warthogs, and chilling with their squad mates. In areas they haven't fully secured yet, you'll see them posted up, rifles trained on the next corridor, ready to push forward. It makes the world feel more alive, like you're actually part of a larger battle instead of just starring in the Master Chief show. Oh, no, we don't talk about that one, alright? Let's fucking forget about that and move on. A lot of these changes come into play during Assault on the Control Room, where the mission gets a much stronger sense of momentum. Instead of just blasting your way through waves of enemies, you're now chasing down an elite zealot who's always just one step ahead of you trying to slow you down. Thankfully, Foehammer is on station with her Pelican to give you a lift when needed, making it feel like an actual military operation rather than just another solo mission where you're dropped into it and told,
"Alrighty, Chief, we need you to go and blow up this here thingy over there. Good luck, son."
Only to not see or hear from anyone again till the end of the level. And when you finally catch up to the zealot inside the control center, the fight starts with a custom cutscene, making the whole encounter feel even more cinematic. Better with Friends also adds an awesome new twist on a vehicle segment where you hop onto the turret of a Warthog while a Marine, yes, these bastards finally got their licenses, they drive you through a Covenant encampment. The AI couldn't drive in the original game, so seeing it work here is almost surreal. One of my favourite moments though has to be when you meet up with Sergeant Johnson in the canyon area outside. And this fight is exactly the kind of thing I imagined as a kid playing Halo. A massive push forward with Marines by your side, desperately covering them, drawing the enemy's fire while one of your other Marines takes a rocket launcher to line up the perfect shot to take out a Wraith. The Marines are actually useful in this mod. They're not just cannon fodder, they hold their own, they cover you, and they make you want to fight with them rather than babysit them. They even saved my ass a few times. Johnson would straight up hit a 720YY shock charge cancel, ladder stall, B23R1 burst swap no scope on an elite, and I'd just stand there in awe, Well, maybe they're not that competent, but they're still pretty damn good. The added enemies meant I was often running low on ammo, scavenging for weapons on the ground instead of relying on my Magnum and AR for the entire level, which I feel like I would normally do, and that led to some real teamwork. Stripping shields with a plasma pistol, then letting my Marines follow up with some well-placed bullets. It genuinely felt like we were working together as a unit, not just me doing all the heavy lifting, which, on a side note, is a big problem I have with FPS games in general. I get the whole, you're the main character, you're the super soldier, you do all the work shit, but like, having some mates to work with never hurt either, you know? So far, Cairo has only overhauled Silent Cartographer and Assault on the Control Room, but I'm really hoping they keep going. Not every level needs this kind of treatment, like I don't think it would work particularly well for something like 343 Guilty Spark. The whole point of that mission is isolation. Throwing a bunch of Marines in there at the start would kind of ruin that vibe, but a level like 2 Betrayals, on the other hand, now that has some potential. Combat Evolved holds a prestigious title, not just as the console FPS that revolutionized the genre, but also as the game that traumatized the most children. That helmet cam footage of Private Jenkins' final moments and the introduction of the Flood, cinema. That's the exact second Halo goes from a cool sci-fi shooter with funny aliens to almost full-blown horror. But what if Bungie had taken a page from Valve's book in Half-Life and made that sequence playable? That's exactly what recovered footage by Siegebreaker does. Instead of watching Jenkins get overwhelmed in a cutscene, you are Jenkins, reliving the nightmare firsthand in an alternate timeline where he escapes instead of Sergeant Johnson. Now, picture that timeline for a minute, alright?
Well, probably best not to think about that right now, but it's fucking horrible.
As a Marine, you are incredibly vulnerable, and you're gonna want to target those infection forms, because once they latch onto you, you're floodbait, alright? See you in the timeless chorus, bro. We're sharing a grave listening to this troglodyte for all time. What a fucking loser, am I right? If I did have one gripe with this mod, the CRT scanline filter has burnt into my retinas like a faulty OLED screen, and now I see the world through what looks like those shutter shades that were really popular in the early 2000s for some reason. The same type of glasses that one dude with frosted tips wore at the high school disco and thought they were really cool, but were actually stupid as fuck in hindsight. That triggered a core memory. Speaking of core memories, the Pillar of Autumn and Halo, the first 2 missions of CE. Everyone is gangster on those missions till the Flood starts showing up on the boarding parties. Like a creepypasta copy of CE got out into distribution or something. No preparation, no warning, just out the gate, humanity's final hope starts getting gutter stomped, and you're forced to leave Cortana on the ship. Unyielding Threat by Gleep and... oh, come on, bro. Have restructured CE's first 2 levels to include the Flood and made a whole new story out of it, albeit it's discontinued now, but you still have the first 2 levels to play, with custom voice lines for ODSTs and even some new chatter on your comms. You think you're safe once you get off the Autumn, but oh nah, you ain't. This shit's just getting started. Dropping onto the surface of Installation 04, instead of the sunny, pleasant, and awe-inspiring view of Halo that sets the tone of wonder and exploration for the rest of the game, instead you get rain, fog, can't see shit. Everything is cooked from the onset and so depressing that I considered it, genuinely. For a moment there, I really thought I might. This mod just crushes your soul. Marines getting shot down and reanimated right before your very eyes. The Covenant aren't even trying to be friendly and help you either, despite the massive existential threat that the Flood poses to them. I mean, imagine that. You touch down on a holy site, basically the home of your religion and the gods that you worshipped, only to see it full of ancient zombies. Yeah, great day to be an atheist, but not much else to be honest. If you feel like getting a near critical dose of cynicism, I can't recommend Unyielding Threat and Recovered Footage enough. They're both incredible peaks into an alternate course of events where everything is just grim. But if you're in the mood for something a bit more optimistic... If Ruby's Rebalanced feels like a refined alternate timeline version of Combat Evolved, then Mercury Rising by Altus94 is something else entirely, a full-blown, custom-built campaign that might just be the most refined Halo CE mod out there. And it doesn't just slap in some cut content and call it a day. Oh, no.
Someone cooked here.
Mercury Rising resurrects the long-lost wildlife of CE, with the Thorax, Thornbeasts, Blind Wolves, and Rockworms, among others, finally making their way into the game. It introduces Covenant enemies like the towering Sharkoi, the Slugmen, and little Covenant drones, which, fun fact, both of which are made of Letgolo worms like the Hunters, which is a nifty little spin on the lore. Brand new Sentinels, there's Grunt Dismemberment, so you can finally blow their heads smooth off and shut those little shits up for good. And even human enemies. And the arsenal is stacked. You've got a revolver, a new grenade launcher, and fresh takes on cut weapons like the gravity wrench, spear gun, javelin rocket launcher, and a flamethrower that actually works, instead of just farting out lukewarm air like the original. It even brings in the flame hog from Halo Wars 2. Like classic CE, these missions take place in open-ended play spaces, letting you explore at your own pace, hunt for Easter eggs, and stumble into secret enemy encounters. And while the AI allies in the second mission can be a bit rubbish, they have just enough personality to make you actually care when they die, even if the medic has a bitch counter that's racked up more numbers than Jesse Pinkman.
I see a bitch! I see a bitch! I see a bitch!
Yeah, bitch!
Speaking of that medic, he actually heals you when you take damage, permitting you keep him alive long enough, so there is some kind of incentive to keep him around. And that drone? Yeah, you can upgrade it with a machine gun, and it'll even cling to the back of a warthog or a stealth tank like R2-D2 if he was packing a gat on Luke's X-Wing. He also brings you beer, so already he's the best AI sidekick in not just Halo, but gaming in general. He's like... Oh man, I'm getting all emotional just thinking about it. He's like the son I never had. The second mission has audio logs scattered throughout the map with brand new voice acting for the grunts, and occasionally they'll even let you in on a little secret. For example, did you know that we've had the handbrake on the shade turrets this entire time and that their legs can move? Yeah. Me neither till this mod. The soundtrack by Cheeches is very different from your usual Halo music affair. Obviously, I'm always gonna love that quintessential O'Donnell Salvatore Halo sound, but this is kind of funky too. I always think that when a mod maker goes out of their way to create new music for their levels or gets another composer on board to assist, that they deserve the extra credit. There really is only so many times I can hear Walk in the Woods, poorly looped, with no changes to it in a custom campaign level before I want to rip my scalp off. There are often times when I'm playing Mercury Rising where I just stop and have these introspective moments like, man, this is what Halo Infinite should have done. Altus and his small team did what an entire 900-person development studio with AAA backing couldn't. The cut wildlife roaming on Halo's surface. That's 1 point for Mercury Rising and not so much for Halo Infinite. The expanded arsenal of weapons and vehicles, the sheer variety in environments, it's all there, and it feels like a natural evolution, pardon the pun, of Combat Evolved's world. Mercury Rising pushes Halo into places it's never been before, but it does so tastefully, respecting the spirit of the original, and whatever Altus decides to do next, you can bet I'll be watching very closely. Not too closely though, because that's kind of creepy, but just closely enough, I'll be following him on the Steam Workshop probably. As Halo fans, we're in a bit of a purgatory state at the moment, this third age of the Halo content drought, as I'm going to call it. Infinite isn't exactly in its prime. The next game, whether it's a CE remake or Project Aika or something else entirely, is still just a bunch of rumors and speculation. And for those of us craving something new, something that truly feels like Halo, we could be waiting another year or longer. It's easy to feel like we've been left out to dry. But here's the thing. Halo isn't just what the studios make of it. It's ours too. And if Mercury Rising has taught me anything, it's that sometimes the guy with a passion project can outdo the behemoth studio with $1 gazillion. Modders aren't bound by corporate red tape, by market trends, by boardroom decision making, or what they believe is going to appeal to a broader audience. Yeah, that old chestnut. They don't need a committee to approve their ideas. They're not worried about monetization models or live service roadmaps. They're just making cool shit. Whether it's Better with Friends, giving CE's campaign a fresh sense of scale, Ruby's Rebalanced, refining the game in ways that feel more authentic and considered than Anniversary ever did, or there's recovered footage along with a whole bunch of other mods that show us these games from entirely different perspectives. These aren't just tweaks. They're the kind of bold, creative ideas that the official games can't or won't ever do. And that's why modding is going to be what keeps Halo's heart beating between official releases. The Master Chief Collection on PC has given players the keys to the kingdom with mod tools, and the community are using them to open as many doors as possible, taking risks, pushing boundaries, and making the kind of experiences that we only used to dream about. If you haven't dived into the world of Halo modding yet, now is the time. This video was just the tip of the iceberg, I can assure you. There are entire new campaigns, reimagined classics, and there's so much more on the way. You can run these old games on your granddad's pacemaker, so there really is no excuse. And honestly, with how uncertain the future of Halo is right now, modders might just be the ones to carry the torch. If you're tired of waiting for the next Halo game, go check out the incredible work the community is doing, because while we hope Halo's best days aren't behind it, the modding scene is proving that its best days might not come from the top down, but from the grassroots and from the fans who love it the most. So hashtag bring Halo mods to Xbox, or hashtag bring Halo mods to console, depending on if that PlayStation release has any validity to it. I am not letting that die, and neither should you.